Joining us now to discuss that New Hampshire Senate race, among other things, the Boston Herald columnist, the talk show host extraordinaire, Howie Carr. Howie, thanks for Skyping in.
Thank you, JD. Thanks for having me.
So Hillary shows up on behalf of Jeanne Shaheen. Will that do it for Senator Shaheen?
Well, I don't know if that will do it. Apparently, the venue was about half full yesterday in Manchester, but there's a new bellwether polling out by my newspaper, the Boston Herald at Suffolk University today. Bellwether, of course, as you know, means you go to communities that have reflected the state at large in the past. And today, the Herald came out. Manchester, New Hampshire, the largest city in the state, is going 47-44 for Shaheen. In Epping, New Hampshire, which is on the southern tier, sort of a border, Boston border community, is going 44-41 for Shaheen. So, you know, these are just two communities again, but it's we have a good pollster, and these are positive signs for Shaheen.
Well, you have that going on, but last week's debate, we touched on it back then, George Stephanopoulos, the moderator, then one of the guys at WMUR starts taking Scott Brown to task and subsequently had to apologize. Did that have any effect to the detriment of Scott Brown and his candidacy?
I think it did, JD. I mean, you know, this guy, you have a lot of low information voters. That was on the #1 TV station in the state, really the only major TV station in the state. And this guy, Pendel, James Pendel, he formerly worked at the Boston Globe and the Des Moines Register, very balanced publications, as you know. He apologized to Scott Brown afterwards, and that was during the webcast. I mean, very few people saw that as opposed to the broadcast debate. And he also apologized to Jeanne Shaheen. I don't know what he was apologizing for, except for bollocksing his attempt to pull a dirty trick off on Scott Brown.
There is more to talk about, Howie Carr, and we will get to it. But right now, taking account that the midterms begin in less than 24 hours, our Newsmax election team takes a look at that Senate race down in North Carolina, where Thom Tillis squares off against the incumbent Kay Hagan.
While most Democrats on the campaign trail are haunted by the president's low approval rating, that's not quite the case in North Carolina. Instead, Republican challenger North Carolina's State House Speaker Thom Tillis is haunted by his own party. He's the face of a very unpopular Republican-controlled legislature. According to a public policy polling survey, only 18% of voters think North Carolina's General Assembly is doing a good job. Democrat incumbent Senator Kay Hagan is doing what she can to capitalize on those numbers. While on the campaign trail, she's quick to remind voters of the controversial actions taken by Tillis and his legislature. The biggest hot-button issue, education. According to Politico, an emphasis on education could give Hagan a huge edge in a key voting demographic, women. The strategy seems to be paying off. She's holding on to a slight lead in the polls, though not outside the margin of error. There is one more factor to consider in this race. Libertarian candidate Sean Haw. He's been polling well. If he can keep it up, political analysts say it's likely he could split the conservative vote, making this race still very much a toss-up.
A CNN ORC poll released over the weekend shows this race still up for grabs. For the latest on this and other races, go to Newsmax.com and be with us tomorrow night for our special live coverage of the midterms. You Decide 2014. More with Howie Carr as we continue here on America's Forum.